Alrighty, we are live. My name's Andrew.
And I'm Will.
And you see our guest.
Yeah, that we did not tell to introduce himself because we suck.
Yes,
Go ahead
and
and introduce yourself.
Hi there, I'm Albelio.
And you guys are watching the CHRILLCAST, and we are reviewing The Rings of Power, which is hot garbage, and The House of the Dragon, which...
Don't tarnish our opinions before we even get started. But first, before we jump into that, our guest should, tell our viewers a little bit about himself.
All right, I write funny movie reviews and occasionally discuss things. You can find me on YouTube at Albelio.
That was very short and sweet.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're doing some reviews on The Rings of Power, which is why you're on today.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. We'll start it like we always do in sequential order. Rings of Power was released earlier in the week, and then House of the Dragon second. So we'll start with Rings of Power, which I'm going to just be very blunt with it from my perspective. I have never in my life imagined that you could have an episode dedicated to combat and war, major conflict, and have it be the most boring, unenthusiastic, engaging piece of crap.
It was very enthusiastic. Did you see Galadriel run across that field and
No, I was unenthusiastic. I never thought that I would want to fall asleep in a combat episode.
If you fell asleep and missed half the episode, it would make just as much sense.
I know, like
the whole thing.
Maybe if I had fallen asleep, the background noise would have given me the dream inspiration for a real entertaining episode. And I would have just had that in my mind instead. I might have given it a better review today. But no, that was my initial reaction. I was not invested in any of those characters at all.
No.
It really highlighted everything that was bad with it, in my opinion. Now you've combined the two worst story arcs of the entire season, and you removed the only interesting aspect, which was actually Numenor, the physical island. And once you remove them from the island, it's hot trash. So now that I've started off strong here, because I've been really
so you
wanting
liked it,
to
is what
say
you're telling
this.
me. That was your favorite episode?
Yes, favorite one so far. What are your guys' opinions?
Well, Sir William of the Beard, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I echo a lot of the same sentiment. It was insulting. I'm actually going to give this one the lowest rating so far. I've already jumped the gun and told Andrew I was going to give it, but the entire time I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me?" That was I kept saying that to my wife over and over again as I was watching the show. It's this was just a complete ripoff off the Lord of the Rings trilogy, off of Peter Jackson films. There was. It was literally Helm's Deep, but way worse than that. It doesn't make any sense.
Not nearly as good.
Not nearly as good. They make this big deal about killing off the humans, even though we clearly see them fighting orcs, but then suddenly there's no orcs anymore. I don't know if they're just showing that there's humans as well as orcs in that, but that was very confusing to me.
I think that's what they were trying to do, but there was not a single human-looking element who started the invasion.
No.
So
that was confusing. And the whole setup, there's an elf watchtower. The elves are master craftsmen, and there's a watchtower that's held together by ropes.
This episode would make you think they're craftsmen.
Yes.
This is why they went to the dwarves.
Yeah, I just don't know what to say about this. They have the ropes there. All I had to do is cut the ropes. The tower falls. Doesn't kill anybody though. So I have no idea what the point of that sequence was.
Right.
Then they are back at the village. I don't know why they returned to the village.
Quick correction: it killed a bunch of CGI characters that were immediately resupplied the next day.
Yes.
Fair. Yes. That's a good.
It did not make a noticeable impact at all to anything. It was a non-event.
They could have had Adar be hurt or something, because at least we saw him in the courtyard. Then we saw him again, but whatever.
Yeah, maybe make him limp, it fell on a foot or something.
I forget what the female human's name. I forget their names because I just don't.
They're not. That entire story arc is
Bronwyn,
so undeveloped.
Yeah, Bronwyn. That's it. She bleeds so profusely. It's you're dead.
But that story arc is so undeveloped as far as world building goes, that you can't find yourself caring enough to remember any of their names.
They have the same scene from when Frodo gets stabbed with the Morgul blade, where they have like the what is that weed that he goes and gets? Anyway, they put a weed in his Kingsfoil, that's it. And it's supposed to like slow the poison slightly. They have that whole scene where the seeds. It's like, what is that supposed to do? Like, you're bleeding.
Obviously, she's gonna have plants growing out of her. Like she's really Cetra from Mortal Kombat.
That would be an amazing payoff if, like, suddenly a tree erupted from her and just killed her. That would be
right.
I was so happy to see someone struck with arrows. Not that I want her to die necessarily, just to see that these people are in danger. And then she goes, and they're like, "Oh no!" And then she's like, "Ha, kidding!" And they're like,
"I know." She's totally fine in the next scene. It's like, come on, just have some scene continuity. That's nothing. They screwed up the continuity. So they have like 3 seconds inside this building where it's pitch black, and then suddenly it's daylight. Somehow Numenorians have ridden across like hundreds of miles to get to this point, up a river that doesn't even exist on the actual Middle Earth map. So I don't even know where they came from. And
I'm really confused on why they. Okay. I'll wait for later, but I have a huge issue with the different story arcs and the timelines and
also how they know where to go.
Yeah, they've handled it so poorly.
They didn't have Gandalf telling them where to go.
Like,
you missed the part.
There is no
one went to them
and consistency in this show.
No one went to them and told them where to go. No, nothing would have been like, why are they ready for battle already? But like, why are they actually ready for battle? You're not.
Why are they riding so fast?
Right, that too. And then how did no one check that the stupid thing wasn't, that sword wasn't taken? How did no one check that entire time?
Every one of these concerns I also raised in my review. I'm fucking 3 pages in, and I haven't finished either the recap or the discussion.
Right. The episode is so bad, ground to ceiling. It's just. And then the volcano eruption at the end. I'm sorry, like Galadriel, obviously only
she tanks a pyroclastic flow like she's fucking Thor.
Yeah,
and of course the next episode she's just gonna stand up covered in Cheeto dust and brush that shit off, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess we literally don't need anyone else. She can just go.
And like, what happened what happened to everybody else? Because there's no way they all managed to get away.
They're fine. They're jumping into the tunnels that's flooded with water.
Yeah, it's just so bad. It doesn't poorly written.
Yeah, it does. It's just.
I've said it in the past, and I'll say it again. Amazon really should have paid more than $15 an hour for these writers.
They didn't pay $15. They didn't pay them at all. They just had someone come in and
them like expired Walmart coupons.
Exactly.
I mean, they're not worth it more than that. I think they should have been paid like maybe, like you said.
The thing is, they have like an overarching concept that like could have merit, but they have no idea how to get there, and they just completely ruin it. Like the idea of the volcano being erupted with the water, that was actually really cool. But like everything leading up to that makes absolutely no sense. Like there's this MacGuffin sword that's a key, but not a sword. But somehow like you have to stab yourself and make it cool, like to grow.
Well, okay, that's kind of a cool concept.
It's a cool concept, but it's completely worthless because they already know they have to build these tunnels to make the water go into to get to the volcano. They could just tear down the dam. Why do they even need the sword?
Why didn't they just build the tunnel underneath the dam?
Underneath the dam.
You don't even have to tear down the dam.
That's an elf.
Here's another thing, by the way. I was looking up imagery for Ostirioth because I wanted a big wide shot of that to point out that I think it's like the second episode when Arondir is standing on top of the watchtower, and if you look, I don't know, in the little bit of a distance on the horizon is Mount fucking Doom. So how on earth did these elves just miss the trenches being dug like a World War II?
I know.
That's that too. Yeah.
Oh man.
How did they all get captured?
The same episode, Galadriel's like, yes, I could see the horizon. I could see Middle Earth from fucking an hour ago. It's like an hour ago. You could see beyond the horizon. Arondir missed it. What was he doing?
I love the fact too that these elves have been made so incompetent. Like Galadriel's over here just one punching people basically, and the black elf is getting manhandled by an orc. And then on top of that, you have the entire garrison at the watchtower get captured by these orcs.
Also,
what
happened to them?
Yeah, no, like I want that explained.
They didn't see it coming.
Yeah, how did they get captured? First of all, the orcs didn't take the watchtower. So how was the garrison taken completely and utterly? There's no more elves around.
They took the watchtower, but in secret, so that it was all part of their master plan.
Right.
Mankind had to turn the key. They couldn't do it.
It's just so baffling. And really, it's so stark, right? Like the difference between character development in Rings of Power versus House of the Dragon. And Galadriel, let's just compare Galadriel to Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra, they replaced the actress with a time jump, and in one episode, I have had more character development for her damn character than I have had in 6 episodes of Rings of Power for Galadriel. Mm-hmm. There's weakness, there's desire, there's all sorts of faults, but also redeeming qualities for that character. Galadriel, nothing but I am strong.
Oh, well, that's where you're wrong. You see, she cannot stop.
Oh, that too.
Also,
she is the Hulk.
That's her motivation. She just can't stop.
She is the Hulk in elf form. She has no control whatsoever.
Jeffrey Dahmer at 5 Guys.
So, okay. Here's the other thing, too, that actually really pissed me off when I thought about it. Galadriel, she has a husband, right? And
yes,
supposed to.
But now she's gonna bone this other guy, yeah.
So why the hell did Amazon choose to make a story arc for Galadriel that did not involve a love interest who, like, I don't know, tempers her, helps her not be the crazy, I'm going to go become the Dark Lord type person? Yeah, that right there.
But also, that's another thing is like this guy just has a pouch, okay?
Yeah.
How does that make him the king? So
anyone could have taken it from him. Anyone could have taken it.
Yeah, the thing is with Aragorn, he was raised by the elves. They protected his lineage. They know who he is, and they can vouch for him. This guy literally could just...
Well, also, he's been around for how long because he ages differently.
He's like 70 in the books, I think.
Yeah, but he's also part of that whole ranger crew that exists.
Aragorn lives to be like 230 some odd years old before he croaks.
But isn't he 70 in the books, or am I misremembering that?
I think
during that trilogy.
Yeah, I think he's like 80s, 70s, give or take.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's already lived a long life, and he's part of the Rangers over there. So people know who he is. It's not a mystery. Boromir knows instantly who he is.
Yep.
And is all like, oh, you're not who I actually want you to be, so I'm actually upset. Like, but that right there, that's character development. Every aspect of it is character development. There's a struggle. I have not seen a legitimate struggle in any of the main characters they try to champion.
I will say that Halbrand is clearly magical because he can like teleport in front of horses that have been running away from him for like at least 5 minutes.
That
come back the other way.
Like he gave her Nas. Yeah. Or just feeding her carrots like she's a Epona. And then when he comes up the front, and I'm like, this horse is fucking dead. And then he trips the horse, and the horse gets up and brushes it off.
I know. It's like that horse is
broken leg.
Yeah, definitely.
Sheesh. It's so bad.
And I love that Adar just keeps running, like just driving the horse straight towards him. Like, yep, I accept this.
Doesn't even
you're on a horse. The elf who's made evil. The elf who's been made evil and as old as can be. Basically, all that experience. It's like, nah. Just gonna take it.
And what's crazy is like that character is actually kind of interesting and
he's the most interesting character in the entire.
He calls out Galadriel on her terrible character development. Yeah. And then I don't think it's going to go anywhere, though.
No. But he's had the most ups and downs. He's the most conflicted character
he's the only one I care about. I want him to win.
That's Galadriel's so bad.
The number of people that have commented in and pretty much many of the videos at this point that I've made are pretty much all saying at the same time, like, yeah, I absolutely want Sauron to win because no one I know personally or online likes any of these characters. And my favorite character so far has been ruined by this episode. I'm just so pissed.
Which one is your favorite?
Aaron, dear, the Fresh Prince of Noldor has been turned into a fucking moron. It's like, here, Theo, have this sword. That's totally the sword. Wink.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you didn't check, you didn't open it.
And also, why would he have given it to him anyway? The kid's just like, he basically describes it as the precious. And then he's like, okay, yeah, here, Gollum, have the sword that you need.
Yeah. The thing that is haunting your every thought.
Yeah, basically giving it to the son of,
yeah.
He's like, Theo is, like, I raised this point a while ago in, like, the second or third, because I realized that, like, none of these writers have any life experience. None of the people behind this seem to have life experience. So
this is their
Theo,
This is their first show. I want to point that out for the runners.
But you guys should recognize the parallels.
Yeah.
This Morgul blade is essentially just the ebony blade from Skyrim. Theo is basically the son of Balgruf at the same time because he's the one with the sword. Galadriel is every single Mary Sue, Karen Sue, as I've called her, possible. She's untouchable unless the plot says so, because that's the only time she got scratched in the previous episode. Every other time, she's fucking flawless victories, everything, or she's exploding orcs from the side of a horse.
Not just that, she turns everyone incompetent as hell. Like those Numenorians, she just embarrasses the shit out of.
Yep.
And treats them like they're not the best of humanity.
Yeah, except that the Numenorians then come in and just slaughter the orcs without issue.
Right.
It's like, wait. She just
the other elf gets the shit beat out of him by one orc for a while.
Who has no sword. I'm just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And
it's just like...
That's another parallel, though. He stabs that orc in the eye and immediately came to mind 300.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, you can easily track almost anything in this show.
None of it is
anything
original.
Prior that we've already seen years past. This is the problem. These guys, they're trying, like, anytime they're trying to convey something in some sort of deeper spiritual meaning, like Galadriel's brother, what's-his-nuts, when he's like, what's the difference between a rock and a ship? Immediately, I thought, it's the duck scene. It's the witch scene from Monty Python, except they couldn't do it right.
Right.
It's all copying from other things without any lived experience to apply it to this. So even with the freedom to make something new, or at least make their own version of it, they can't even make it good.
No.
Right. And we've discussed in previous episodes, it's like the world is so expansive. Middle Earth is so expansive. You have Harad, you have the Easterlings, you have all of this area where they've just tried to pigeonhole this diversity thing, like, without explaining any of it in a way that makes any sense for the universe. And they easily could have made it so ingrained into what was already existing.
And it would be so interesting to see those aspects too, because we haven't seen them yet.
They could have
they could have made it their own by doing that.
Yeah, they could have explored all of these regions, like Harad. We've never seen it. It's only been talked about, hinted at. The Easterlings, only hinted at. They could have showed us these cool cities and the elephants, all of that. They could have shown us
ring wraith, so we could have seen that story play out. That would have been really cool.
They could have shown us all of these epic places, right? Instead, we get hobbits that aren't supposed to technically exist, that also make zero sense.
They're freaking evil too, man.
Yeah,
the hobbits are the most evil characters.
Yeah,
just take off their whales and leave them for dead. You guys just got chanting, "Never leave anyone behind." What the fuck is wrong with you?
And then even Numenor is done poorly. They make it seem like they're not challenging the elves at all. It seems
take their job scene.
Yeah,
was like, what is this?
So bad. And then there's all of that. I think
how quickly any and all conflict is resolved, like what you just said. They
handed out.
Oh, they're gonna take our jobs. 5 minutes later, drinks on us. You just have women walking around with wine? The fuck?
And then this is the point that really struck me in this last episode. And that was how they've tried to force all these story arcs into one season. And what they really should have done was like the Disney or the Marvel universe style, where you have all different seasons, different series going. They should have made one for like the Southlands. They should have made one for the Numenorians. They should have made one for like any other region they wanted to bring into the story. They should have had multiple seasons focused on world building, story, just general story and investment, right? And conflict setting. And then slowly over time, you combine those story arcs into one story, one season, and you make it actually compelling where you now have a whole season dedicated to getting you invested into each character. One whole season dedicated to their story arc instead of this jumping around. There's clearly inferior story arcs. Like, the only one I care about watching right now currently is the dwarves.
Yep.
That's the only one I care about. And all the other ones, like, I mean, my rating for this last episode is negatives because they didn't even have the dwarves in it. So there's literally nothing positive to watch. But like,
I'm actually gonna push back against that only because it's astonishing that they've managed to hold the attention. They managed to hold my attention long enough with an episode that desperately needed to stay focused on something. The episode prior to this, the biggest issue was that we were jumping between 4 different fucking locations.
Yep.
Like,
true.
I have no care at all for Gil-galad and his 3rd grade Game of Thrones bullshit.
No,
I don't care for the Harfoot and their survival of the not limpiest crap. I'm most focused on Arendir and what's going to happen with Mount Doom, which I made a joke. I made a fucking joke and it came true. And then there was Numenor, which was much less interesting because Galadriel is there.
Yes.
Right.
Like,
that's been my only complaint with Numenor is Galadriel sucks, and the Queen kind of sucks because she's basically the same character as Galadriel, just different side of the coin. And then I honestly, my biggest problem though is I have not been able to get invested in your favorite character just because they refuse to explain his background. Refuse. And they keep flirting with it.
Well, they don't explain anyone's backgrounds. I mean, some of these characters
but they actually bring up the "Where are you from?" and he is literally the only black elf, and they refuse to try to explain that. Refuse.
They give him no motivation, even like ignoring the black part. He has no motivation of being there. We don't know why he's on this watchtower. We don't know how long he's been there. Like, has he seen generations of this family and has like grown to love this family over time? That would be really strange, but kind of a cool story.
That makes that really creepy with Bronwyn.
It's super creepy.
Right.
Because
if
he knew her as a kid and then she grew up and then he starts banging her and makes Theo.
The thing is, that's probably what happened. Also, is Theo his kid?
I don't think so.
Most likely. Because in either situation, like again, the point of like him growing up and watching Bronwyn, it's the same kind of thing as like, again, Game of Thrones is like when Maisie Williams has her nude scene right before the zombie and the zombie thing at the end.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is an awkward boner.
Yep.
The thing I was gonna say though, the part that annoys me about that story arc is the elf commander that was there. I felt
Commander McWeak to arrows.
Yeah, but I felt more invested in his character at the time when he died than any other character in that story arc because he's the only one that showed any legitimate personality, and that upset me. Like, literally, he's a side character, and he showed more personality and better quality acting.
Yeah, I will say that. What is that elf's name again?
Arendir.
Okay, sorry, I'm really bad with names, mostly because I'm just not investing in these characters. So Arendir, I think his character would work so much better with a better cast around him because he's essentially channeling Legolas, like that stoic. He has lots of cool acrobatic feats, and he's very loyal and lots of things. But he doesn't have like a Gimli. He doesn't have an Aragorn. He doesn't have those other characters to play off of, and he can't carry. At least in my opinion, I don't think that character type can carry a scene by himself.
They wrote him as a character that's supposed to be on a quest, not defending something.
Yes.
And yet he's supposed to be defending something.
Yes, but so his entire story style is wrong. Also, I'm still annoyed with the stormtrooper style orcs who can't seem to.
They were better in this last.
They were
shooting people.
But
no one I care about died because you didn't get to know anyone. But
it'd be nice if they killed someone important.
Mm-hmm.
I just find myself
like the dude that was dead on the table across from Bronwyn.
Like, I was just like, who is that?
Help him! Turns around.
Like, this is the first time he did anything. It's the first time he was even like focused on in the entire season.
Yeah.
And it's like he died. Okay, but it's just I find myself so thankful that this is not like rated M. Like that's all.
You said that you were worried about them having sex in the show, and the thing is, going into this, I was really worried because they said they wanted this to be their Game of Thrones. So I was like, I thought that's how they're going to ruin Tolkien's work.
But like
they also hired nude coaches because there were supposed to be scenes that people were supposed to be uncomfortable with, and thankfully thus far, that has been basically limited to wet dress Galadriel and the Stranger. Like, that's about it. And even then, you don't see, like, anything. Yeah. Like,
nope.
I'm just glad they didn't go that route.
Give me a reason to watch it.
But, like, at this point, I'm just happy it's not M because it would be even more horrifying, I think.
Yeah.
Galadriel would be out there with a strap on or some shit because that's the way
oh my gosh.
I'm just saying.
He does that with a script behind the scenes. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I honestly, like, I want to like this show because, like, I'm a huge Tolkien fanboy, but I also like fantasy shows in general. And I really want to like this show because I want to be invested in a new fantasy show. I've tried to separate it away from Tolkien because it just isn't the same vibe. It's not the same story arcs. It's not the same. But really what I keep coming down to is that if Galadriel wasn't there, it would be an okay story. Like, it would be really inconsistent. It would still suck, but I'd still watch it.
Well, if Galadriel wasn't there, they could actually put dedication into characters who matter. Like, her character does not matter. Her character actually seems pointless at this point. She's just there to get Numenor to wherever. And
I think they only put her in there because they recognize a name. They should have just made her a new character.
They probably should have done that, but the first and foremost, like, the logistics of everything I mentioned before, like, just as an example, all the orcs that immediately replenish themselves, like, later Game of Thrones seasons. The issue here is that this first season is like trying to take the entirety of Avatar: The Last Airbender and squeeze it into a third of the first book.
Right.
That's really what they're doing. They've already, Galadriel is in Forodwaith, the Northrend, as it were. It travels all the way out to Lindon and then out to Valinor. She's traveled like 7,000. She crossed the United States in a day.
Right.
And then there's she starts swimming back, and then it's like at parallel we have Arendir and Bronwyn hiking it from Tir Harad to Hordern, and it's like that's a day. It's like they traveled like 2 miles.
Right, there's no time scale. This is as bad as when Daenerys flies that dragon all the way in like a day, less than a day, and it's just
Well, same thing. It's later, another comparison. It's the issue of later seasons of Game of Thrones,
right,
and their horrible time management being applied to this same thing.
Yeah, and that, again, I know I brought this up and you guys have already talked about it, but them riding on that horse, when they cut to that horse scene when they're riding across as the orcs are in the tavern, I was like, no way. No way are they going to pull this crap.
Yeah, in full sprint, like they have a GPS.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
I was like,
no one's ran to them and like, hey, you guys, we're under attack. There's urgency.
No, there's no like smoke on the horizon, nothing.
Yeah, no. Galadriel just saw them through a mountain or some shit, and they just were like, yeah.
Well, the thing is, they could have happened upon like an orc village. They have no idea. They could have just been slaughtering innocent people.
I mean, it's orcs. No one cares.
Well, I mean, according to Adar, they have souls.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I'm saying, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it would be much better if they tried the Marvel Universe style? Because that's the only way I could see it be better.
Different than this would be better if they gave any kind of time to the character arcs, so we can actually be invested. To his point earlier, that we jumped around 4 different story arcs in the same episode. There wasn't enough time to care.
They're trying to tell too many stories at once, like 1,000%. But it's just like, Galadriel, take her out of it. She's not needed.
I think the best thing to do would be to do what Peter Jackson did, which was take most of the unnecessary stuff and cut it out to streamline the story. Because the problem is they have the Harfoots, which are basically just copyright knockoffs. They've done nothing. They do nothing. We have a female version of Frodo and Bilbo, and she's done nothing.
Yes.
Like, what has she done? Oh, I found a giant guy. And
now she's scared of him for no reason.
Yeah, for absolutely no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, too. Like, it's so frustrating. Now, the more I think of it, the more it bothers me. Galadriel, without even remotely going into her love interest, and how she, like, her husband, which she clearly has later on when we know her.
Well, she's supposed to have.
Yeah. But, like, how do you write Galadriel without her actual true love interest? That's the part that blows my mind the more I think of it.
I don't imagine that. I can't imagine these people actually took the time to spend like a year or two to write this.
No, there's no way.
Like we've already who was it? Someone pointed me in the direction of an interview with the fight choreographer for that the Numenor training scene where Galadriel is just apparently they shot that over the course of a single day.
That makes sense.
And here, let's just as a comparison, right? Like in Alien versus Predator, okay, by Paul W.S. Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
That the fight between the two Predators and the hero alien, that took 3 months to film.
Right. You're not going to get it perfect the first time. You're going to see it, and you're going to want to make improvements, and you're going to want to tweak it, and you're going to be like, now it looks
There's
good.
A lot of issues with that movie, but that movie is like masterclass compared to the show.
So,
pretty much anything is right now.
Yes.
And it gets worse when you have so many people that are just like the number of people that defend this. I have like no hope for cinema or culture.
So I've talked about the show with my coworkers, and a lot of them are actually really enjoying it. And I've been trying to separate myself from like my original thought process and like try to
only like
understand
it if you don't really care about the original content.
Is that really all it is? Is that I've actually read the books and I've seen the movies?
I think if you've seen the original movies and you've read the books and you're even remotely aware of like if you saw those and actually paid attention enough to know that like Harad and the Easterlings are people who exist, like you saw the people who showed up to help the orcs at the final battle, and enough to realize those are other humans from another location. I wonder what that is. If you didn't give any craps about that, then you're fine with this show. If you had even a remotely small enough vision to like pick out interesting tidbits about the overall universe, I think you can't like this.
But even from like a structure standpoint, this show is
it's
terrible
bad.
in my opinion. So how does anyone like it?
They're not paying attention.
I think the answer to that is that the bar for culture and everything has been lowered so incredibly that people genuinely do not actually know what a good movie is. Take, for example, The Northman and Top Gun Maverick. Those two movies are fantastic. Easily the best.
I thought you were going to say they weren't good, and I was going to have to fight
No. I would kick my own ass if that were the case.
Right.
No, Northman is fan-fucking-tastic, and Maverick, I would love to go back and see it. Like, what an exhilarating movie. But what did most people say? It's a generic argument at this point. It's every phobic Easton-ism they can make up, saying that the Northman is white supremacy and all this other crap. And then you have Top Gun Maverick, which is just nationalism and all these other bullshit arguments. And yet they're over here praising She-Hulk, who in one scene was like, these guys walk up behind her and they're like, hey, like, you want to come and get a drink with us? And she has a panic attack, turns into the Hulk form, and is about to stomp these people to putty. And then, like, a scene later, it's like, wait, you're in there? And she's like, yeah, I'm always in control. Wait, you just admit that you're a psychopath about to kill people because they wanted to give you a drink, and you wonder why no one likes you.
I'm impressed you've been able to watch that. I can't bring myself to watch it.
I hate myself for it.
I was going to point out too that those are the same people now who are going to say that piece of trash movie, The Woman King, that's rewriting history.
Oh, I was so excited
fantastic.
to learn about that movie.
No, it's going to be so bad because they're literally glorifying slave traders.
Mm-hmm.
The people who wanted to fight to keep slavery from being outlawed.
That's not how they're going to tell that story, though.
No, they're not.
Synopsis.
And they also got decimated.
They definitely didn't. I already watched it. If I had more time, I would have already had that review out.
Oh, you actually watched it? I can't bring myself to
I'll watch your review. I'm not gonna.
I'll watch your review. Yeah,
that's one of my biggest critiques of Hollywood. Is like I would love for them to branch out and not just keep telling the same damn stories.
Right.
And like go to different worlds. There's other continents, people. We can tell stories and mythology stuff from other continents.
Yeah, stop. You don't have to
changing it.
You don't have to try to change race and all sorts of things for all the different stories. Just go tell actual stories. History is stranger than fiction. There's plenty of stories to tell.
It's also this lack of wanting to. They're so desperate for media attention and being an ally, as it were, that they're willing to sacrifice history and everything in order to tell their story. Like this movie, The Woman King doesn't just. I don't want to go too far off this because it's Tolkien.
Right.
Like The Woman King doesn't actually like hide away from the slave trade. It's just reluctant to show that Dahomey is a part of it.
Right.
When in reality, like I just learned this because I was looking into it because I love history. Mm-hmm. These guys actually had this thing called the Tree of Memories. The Tree of Memories, for those of you who, like I, didn't know, the slaves that the people that Dahomey captured would be tied to a tree and be forced to walk around it until they basically gave up from exhaustion, and they were forced to forget their culture, history, and their tribes. They had to walk around this tree until they literally erased their own minds. Otherwise, they would have to keep doing it basically until they died.
Right.
That's
fun. Now that would be fantastically brutal to show.
Now, imagine if they translated that as a tragedy, but from the perspective of slaves that tried to escape Dahomey.
Right.
Yeah. That movie would be a fucking 10 out of 10.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is that the actual history does not support. I don't want to get too political on this, but does not support. We should definitely go back to Tolkien before I get myself in trouble.
Yes. Well, wait. Let's take it. Let's take this one.
All right, enough of the black on black violence. Let's
take this one comment from the chat. Right. So Frank Lassick says it's too late to save this. The first season is completely tanked. I don't know if he's talking about the show as a whole, like going into future seasons. I think it's possible to save that if they just one off this and don't perpetuate it forward. Like they have to just scrap the story, start a new one. And it might be saved if they did that. But they're going to have to admit defeat on this expensive piece of shit that they just filmed. I don't think they have the humbleness to do that.
Oh, absolutely not.
They don't have any humility, so they're just going to keep saying it's fantastic. So, will we get a second season of Hot Trash?
I think they
already They already started filming in UK.
Oh,
I really hope they do a better job with Galadriel's character, not just for the fact that the character sucks to the show, but that actress is going to be hated forever now, and I do feel bad for her.
So. There's this other comment that Frank Lassick had in the chat, and that was, you have to be young enough to not know anything about Tolkien. And I'm pretty sure this was him responding to your question, Will, about how people can possibly understand it. I want to agree, but also I know there's people old enough, like older than me, who like it. And it's like, our generation kind of grew up with those Peter Jackson movies. I find it really hard to understand where those people come from who are our age or even older. It's actually really rough to see them like this, or not even just like it, but like also try to come up with better justifications and hopes about the story arc to try to make it good in their own head. Like the super fanboys who are over here trying to come up with these elaborate theories. It's like, where have you gotten this idea that these showrunners are creative or anything like that?
It's what I said before. It's the issue of the bar has been so fucking lowered that it's like this show has been the bar was set so low for the show that you could literally trip over the bar into a good show, and they literally went under the bar somehow.
Right.
The
like
issue,
they had to
like
try to make it this bad.
If you can separate this from Tolkien's stuff and just see this as a perversion of his story, okay, let it stand on its own. All right. Then every single point any of us have raised still stands. And the problem is that it's not just the culture is so low that most people don't understand what good filmmaking is nowadays. It's that in this culture, which is present day, what's another common tactic? Shifting the goalposts.
Yep.
Oh, it opened at #1 for Amazon. Yeah, sure, but it's also like a 38% in Rotten Tomatoes.
And it has no competition on Amazon, so... What else are you going to watch?
Invincible hasn't made a second season. The Boys hasn't been running for a little bit now since they finished up season 3. There's nothing in the way for this show to actually get anywhere. Second, it's Tolkien. It's like what, the second most popular book in the world next to the fucking Bible. Just, you know, and every single time any sort of question comes up, you'll see this occasionally if you just scroll through Twitter like me because you're stupid. If you look at all these people, and there's this really funny picture that I put in one of my reviews, which is the one where it shows all the copy pasted or a bunch of the copy pasted people in Ostirioth. And one of the people that commented, as probably the best example of like moving the goalposts, this guy said along the lines of, you didn't see this first, you used a picture from online, and trying to go after the copy paste argument is a really low blow. It's like are you kidding me? I sit here, pause, and take notes. This is not an hour-long episode. It's an hour and 45 minutes because I'm a sadist. Of course we saw the copy paste. Anybody with 2 eyes can see the copy paste. You could be cross-eyed and see the copy paste.
Yeah, I tried to ignore it, I'll be honest.
all of these issues, it always comes down to, well, you're using a point that someone else said, which is bullshit. Everyone with a brain fucking sees these problems. And then they'll say, oh, well, that's not actually an issue. Okay, and then you raise up another problem. Okay, like, how about the choreography for the fight was terrible? Oh, well, I enjoyed it. Okay, well, that's fine. You can enjoy it. I'm not saying you can't enjoy it. Listen, I love Street Sharks because I'm an idiot. Like, it's just another one of these million different TMNT knockoffs, and I love Street Sharks. I love the fucking Godzilla movies, including Sun's Revenge, which I should probably go to confession for saying that one. But it's still something that I enjoy. You can enjoy something all you want. Just don't dare try to tell me that it's objectively good.
Yeah.
There's like
opinion is now fact. So that's
well, yeah. I mean, it's just like my people are equating subjective enjoyment with objective quality, and they do not compute.
And now that we've been talking about it too, I just thought of it. I think there's been like a big thing with that quality of actual storytelling in movies and everything going down. I think the focus has been too much on CGI making things pretty, and just them trying to carry the day with that. You know, I think that's a huge player in it.
Yeah, everyone just says
it looks so pretty. Yeah. It looks so pretty. Oh, look at all of the scenes and everything.
Yeah, look at the CGI curtain that you could see the shadow of in the background because they forgot to clean that up. Yeah.
The thing is, so I agree with you that they probably focus too much on CGI, but not only are TV shows and movies like really poorly written now, like so many of them are just terrible, but so are video games and so
they
are
don't know when to
books.
end a story either. No one does.
No,
because that means they have to come up with something new afterwards. So I think that's my biggest complaint, right? Nothing knows when to die. No TV series knows how to die anymore.
Well, they can't let it die because it makes money.
Right,
because
but
we live in an era of consume, don't think.
The most exciting concept about the Ted Lasso show, for example, they plan to kill it after the 3rd season. That they only planned to write 3 seasons, and they currently plan to kill it after that 3rd season. Like, that's exciting. The show's fun to watch.
Yeah, that's also part of the reason why House of Dragon is so exciting, because it's probably only going to be 2 seasons, and then they have the potential of still, with the same showrunners, have like, I realize this is more like our theory, but have like House of the Wolf, House of the Lion, and things like that, where they can still.
They have a lot of shows planned, but House of the Wolf is not one of them, and that annoys the shit out of me. Not yet,
see this.
Because they haven't watched our videos where we say they should do it. But yeah, no. They just need to know when to kill shows. That's my thing. Like,
there's nothing wrong with killing your darlings.
Exactly.
Even if you have to hide them in the walls.
It's just like your favorite characters. Shows are better when you're still willing to kill a main character. If if you're not willing to kill any characters, it's gonna be a shit show. And that's what it feels like right now. Maybe they'll kill Erwin or whatever his name is. They'll have him. Yeah, that guy.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
I can't get his name right because honestly, you might think he's the most interesting so far. He's been the most boring to me.
I hate that, like, literally I have to default to Disa currently being the best character. I hate this. I hate everything about I hate my life.
That's Durin's wife?
I hate this.
Disa? Is that Durin's wife?
Yeah.
See, I'm still, like, they still could have fleshed out how they met much better, but whatever.
But the dwarves are fun. They know how to write them, but they don't spend any time with them.
Exactly. It's just...
Give me
clearly different writers for each... sorry.
Can we just point out how many other dwarf clans there are that they could have brought into the story as well?
No, there's only one. Be quiet.
There's only one that they can write about, apparently. So, well, okay. Anything else to add for the dumpster fire that is Rings of Power?
We could be here all night, and I don't want to do that.
That's why I'm asking.
Well, I can't wait for them to not explain how Galadriel survives a pyroclastic flow.
Right.
They literally showed it. She just stands up.
Stands up.
That's my gosh. They could have at least had one episode where they don't show her living through that.
Well, everyone knows she lives. There's no point cliffhangering that.
Yeah,
maybe have her be hurt. There's nothing that says she can't break both legs and both arms and have to go recover somewhere, and then she's written out for the rest of the season. That would have been a fantastic story plot.
Yeah, but they already showed that in the trailer.
And then they could have made her husband dust. They could have made her husband her elf nurse. There we go. Let's just rewrite all the roles. Yep, he's not a warrior elf at all, but she's the baddest of the bad, right?
That's another thing. Why is she a warrior? She can do all kinds of crazy stuff with magical powers. What is she doing?
She's supposed to be all enlightened and shit, but nope.
Well, the orc shouldn't even be able to look at her, right? Isn't that like part of the lore that she is so bright because she has the original light from Valinor in her? That's why she's so bright.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's
because Glorfindel does, and Frodo sees it in the actual Fellowship of the Ring. That's what he sees when he's like passing into the other realm, and why it hurts him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what else about her hair? When did she get the glowing hair that Gimli just can't stop obsessing over?
She's also like straight up one of the most powerful beings in Middle Earth by the end of the Third Age. Like she has one of the Rings of Power, which we also haven't seen because they're still building the forge off screen.
Right. Which it'll be completed next episode. So
if it's not the end of the next, it's Yeah, which is insane too. Just that. When was it started? Summer, winter, like when? There's no sense of time in this crap.
There is no, yeah, exactly.
The
None.
second age is thousands of years, and they've managed to somehow. I don't know how you do this, but they man. You know what? That's another comparison. They're doing what the first season of The Witcher did, but worse. Where it's just like they're running all these parallel stories and they're supposed to meet up, except that they're not different timelines. They're at different points in time. They're literally all happening at the same time. Instead of Geralt being, a few hundred, like 100 years ago, and then Humpback of Notre Dame a few hundred years ago, they're all happening concurrently in Rings of Power, and that's the problem.
At least The Witcher pulled it off, I think. I think they still pulled it off. It was weird.
The thing is, like, I was following it because I'd read the books, but I don't know how someone who had read.
I haven't read the books. It's still you can follow it. It's just you have to recognize what's happening at some point. Once you recognize it, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But getting there, it's hard. All right. Ratings. How would you rate it out of 10? And negative numbers are permitted. Let's go with you first, Will.
I'm actually gonna give it. I realize that this is kind of cheating. Like, I want to do like a -3. Like, it went from being so bad that it was kind of
so much shit last week.
I know, I did. Well, the thing is, I still had some hope. This episode just crushed everything because as we've been talking about, it's just an imitation and it's a poor one. They do everything worse. Mm-hmm. There's no sense of time. There's no sense of anything. There's no character arcs. The one character that's kind of interesting, they don't know what to do with him. It's just, it was insulting. That's the best way of me putting it. I felt insulted the entire time. So -3.
-3.
I just have to give it a disapproval. I don't really care for the number rating. If I had to pick one, like 1 to 10, it's a 1 or a 2.
You can do 0.
No, I'll be fair.
Pure disappointment. It looked pretty, but it was disappointing. Like,
they managed to stick to a single story for an entire episode, for almost an entire episode. I'll give them that. That's about as far as it goes. It's like a 1 or a 2. Otherwise, it's
Yeah, I mean, the best way to describe this series is, let's just say Amazon was the guy at the bar who managed to take home a 10, right? But when he got home, he was whiskey dicked so bad, nothing happened. And they just created nothing. And all he did was throw up because, that's basically the season. So I'm going to go with a -5.
More like the dude went home thinking he had a 10, woke up with a 0 and his Galadriel taking a shot.
No, because it's actually a 10 because it's Lord of the Rings. Let's be honest. You could not have a better universe to write a story and film a TV series within, right? You couldn't have a better one. So they literally brought it home, and then like he murders it. They murdered it. Like, I don't know what else to say. They just didn't know what to do, and now you currently have this hot trash that is, I'm saying a -5. Because I feel like it could still get worse. So, Will, you have to take
this show basically the John Wayne Gacy of Tolkien, a fucking -5.
Yeah, like, I think Will needs to apologize for giving me so much shit last week for wanting to do a negative. And here's the thing, they didn't even put the dwarves in it. So I have every right to say negative. That was the only story that made me say I would almost give them a better, higher ranking.
Mm-hmm, I know.
So unless
I did give you crap, sorry.
Unless they do like the same thing where it's just an episode dedicated to the dwarves and elves over there, that story, then they're not going to have a positive rating for me for the rest of the season. There's no way.
No, not unless they just kill Galadriel. That would be interesting.
But they kill her and she comes back like Gandalf. And that's how she turns out spiritual.
At this point, if she's on screen for a few episodes, I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with it. Alrighty, let's finally jump into that. House of the Dragon.
I guess the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was a great episode.
It was fantastic, actually. I really liked it.
Mm-hmm. We finally got some incest. Woohoo!
I mean, yeah, Damon finally managed to buck up and do the incest with his niece.
Well, I guess there's been a lot of incest, just closer incest this time.
This is the first time it's direct family.
Yeah.
Direct. Right. But like, yeah, that's now official, and I don't think it's an interesting part of the story almost, because let's be honest, the Valerian husband was kind of he wasn't going to be very helpful in what was to come anyway.
Mm-mm.
So
but the thing is that so now Aemon has his dragon, which is really, really cool.
I hate that, but okay.
He loses an eye. Oh, so did you notice that the sister, I don't remember her name, is actually speaking prophecy every time she speaks?
I did not notice that. No.
Go back and listen to what she says. She's actually having dragon dreams, and everyone's ignoring her. She prophesized how Aemon would get that dragon in either the last episode or the episode before that. And she said that he's going to lose an eye, and he does. She said a whole bunch of stuff this episode, and we'll see how that unfolds. Huh. But it's very interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, that's new to the lore as far as that character having that ability, as far as I can remember. That's a really cool addition.
I mean, if it was me, he would have lost more than an eye, but that's a different issue.
Something that you brought up, the Valerian husband, Laenor.
Yeah, Laenor.
So him leaving is actually kind of interesting. So like he goes out of the picture in the book as well, but I think the idea is that he's either killed or is supposedly killed. Mm-hmm. And that frees up his dragon. So now there's going to be a situation where someone is going to claim his dragon. I don't remember who does it, but it's going to be the first time we see a dragon, or like someone claiming a dragon who still has a rider.
Oh, right.
So that could be a very interesting story dynamic later on.
Right. I mean, it's probably going to be the niece, who doesn't have a dragon. Mm-hmm. I thought I thought the overall episode was strong again. I thought the conflict was really good. There was just character development all around. Aemon's a real little cunt, though. I can't help but
they
point
all
that
kind
out.
Of are.
Well, no.
In Game of Thrones, when is no one not?
Okay, exactly. But he's like particularly cunty, and it's not even funny. You have his older brother who's just
whacking off in a window.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a hoe. All right, he's just a hoe, and there's nothing inherently wrong.
Gives a whole new meaning to King's Landing.
Right. I mean, he's just selfish and kind of doesn't have a care in the world, because he's not even in his mind, he's not becoming king.
Yeah.
Right. So he just plays the role of like, I have no ambitions. I'm just here. Right. Mm-hmm. So he's not bad. But the younger brother, oh my gosh.
Well, he's been bullied his whole life for not having a dragon.
Insufferable.
The thing is, now he has the most powerful dragon.
I would do my duty, and now he's like, I went and took a dragon. It's like, who the hell said you could do that?
No one said he couldn't.
No one said he could do that. He just does it. Like, it's not even his family's dragon. What an arrogant little piece of crap.
I mean, technically it is his family, because it was originally...
No, I don't care.
It's the queen who wasn't dragon, I believe, and then it becomes their daughters. So it's technically still in the family, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm just saying, like, if I was his cousin, I would have throat punched him so hard he wouldn't have been able to punch back.
Yeah, and then the dragon that's now bonded to him would have just eaten her.
No, she could kill him. Just kill him. He's not needed. He's a second son. They don't matter.
He's going to play an important role with that dragon.
I don't care. He's a second son. All right, second son.
The story is all about second sons. You have Daemon, who's a second son.
I don't care. Do you not remember the courtship of Rhaenyra and the people just sticking each other with swords?
Yes.
They don't care about younger sons.
No,
He's
they don't.
Worthless. The daughter's more important than him. That until he had this dragon, he was worthless.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. He's going to feel very entitled now.
If he died tomorrow, he wouldn't have the dragon now, would he? So he'd be back to being worthless. So
the dragon's not gonna die though.
The dragon doesn't die. I'm saying if he died, there's no dragon. He's back. They don't have to even mourn him. He's worthless again.
Mm-hmm.
But
without my dragon, what am I to be?
Right. It was just and that whole time, that whole scene at the castle, it's just, I don't know. You clearly root for certain people. It's obvious you start rooting for certain people, especially.
I realized this happened in the last episode, but I saw some chatter about people being confused how Rhaena, I think her name was able to be burned by the dragon in the first place. Just so you know, the Targaryens and the Valerians are not fireproof. The show effed that up. She was able to withstand the fire in the very beginning because of blood magic, but she is not fireproof. So in the last season when she comes out of the hut and she's like, oh, after burning everybody. No, that is not how that happens.
Right.
She would have died too. Anyway, so the Targaryens can die from fire, which is important because they're all going to die soon.
Wait. Didn't Daenerys walk into a fire and then come out with 3 dragons?
That happened. She was able to do that because of blood magic. Yeah. So in that scene, there's a whole bunch of crazy witch ritual going on, and it basically allowed her to survive that situation. Otherwise, she is resistant, so she can take hot baths and such, but she would still burn.
Okay.
And it's important because Jon burns his hand, and that's how you can still say he's a Targaryen.
Not all of them. Some of them had the blood of the dragon, in which case they were very heat resistant. They're not fireproof. They're very heat resistant, which is why they don't burn from hot water.
Yeah,
they're very heat resistant and everything.
It's just different. You can sit in boiling water. You're gonna die if you're in a burning hut.
Right.
Anyway, I realize that has nothing to do with what we're talking about
right now. But going back to what happened in that story, right? That whole scene with the conflict between the children, right? Mm-hmm. I understand he loses an eye, but it's them versus him, and the little cunt has a dragon now, so he clearly did something shady that night, right? There's no arguing that he started shit and then started feeling all freaking his balls dropped that night, and he could just tell everybody what the heck to do. So it's why is there an argument here? He deserved to lose that eye. Stop trying to say he didn't egg that all on. He clearly instigated it all, and the king's over here he lost an eye. It's bro, you know who told him to call the others a bastard? Let's stop pretending. Mm-hmm. And then, are we going to talk about how the queen just slashes the heir to the Iron Throne and isn't being punished? Can we just... Where's the Kingsguard going to kill the queen? Because there's clearly a hierarchy here.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things that happen in the show, which I don't think it's not that it's unexplained. It's just weird. So
super weird.
Bringing up that part, but also they had those people just killing each other during the festival. They had people killing each other during the wedding, and there was no punishment.
There's no punishment whatsoever for anything.
No.
But it's different, right? When it's the heir to the Iron Throne being attacked, the queen's not important. Mm-hmm. No offense to anyone who's a fan of her, but she's literally the least important character as far as the Kingsguard gives a shit about. They don't care about her. They care about the king, the heir to the king, in whatever order succession is, and that is their order of giving shits about people. If they have to pick, whoever's higher on that inheritance structure gets saved. So if the second son tries to kill the first son, they kill the second son. They've looked menacingly at Daemon every time he's around the king.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are about to cut him down. And you're telling me they don't cut down the queen when she takes a knife and goes after the heir to the Iron Throne? That blew my mind. I understand
Maybe she
why it
just
doesn't
they're
happen.
loyal to
But
her for some reason.
no, only Sir Kristen Cole is.
Yeah. Well,
Which the other ones stop him from getting involved.
Yep. That is the one thing that I don't know if it's necessarily a problem yet, but if they don't have some kind of explanation at some point, that might be an issue I have with this season.
There's no resolution to as far as punishment for that.
Yeah.
I think the argument would be that there was no punishment for the eye being lost. And that the king has no ability to discipline
well, the king
anybody.
is just losing his mind. So he calls her Emma at one point, and I think he just is he wants no conflict. He just wants to die.
Right.
With there not
I
being
think
conflict.
that's what they're trying to convey is he has no true control anymore, and it's just setting it up for the conflict of when he's dead.
Yep.
So everyone sees it as fair game. He had his words mean nothing because he hasn't punished anything. Right? So it'll be interesting. I think it was a strong episode. Damon came in strong, like always.
Damon's always good.
He's always good. And then
it feels less creepy with him being with the older actress now.
Right. Which it's like he shows his one honorable mode. He's like, "You were just a child." It's like, okay, but you still tried. Like,
yeah, and
you just couldn't bring yourself to doing it back then.
To him.
Yeah.
So whatever.
It's like, what do you think though about the sister flaming herself? I forget her name. The Valerian girl.
In the previous episode.
Yeah.
I thought that was honestly a heart-wrenching scene. She mentions that she wants to die the life as a dragon rider, and so that's the best way of doing that. Her going out and the sea burial was really weird though. Anyway, but it was really sad because it parallels the beginning scene where the king's wife, is dying. He ends up trying to choose the baby. Is that horrible C-section scene, and they end up both dying. And you can see that she hears the maester tell that to Damon, like that's an option, like we could do this. And then Damon shakes his head like, no, we're not going to do that. But she doesn't see him make that decision, and I think she's just escaping that fate, and she wants to go out.
She's going to die anyway.
Well, she may not. I mean,
no, she's going to die anyway.
I guess you could try.
The only option is to cut her open. Because the baby's not coming out.
You could cut out in chunks, man. They do it with cows all the time.
Oh, I'm thinking
fine.
Different one. I was thinking about I was thinking like, wait, are they talking about the Targaryen that Joffrey was mocking as there's pieces of her buried under the castle because she got eaten by a dragon? I was like, oh yeah, that happens. And then I realized you're talking about the queen that died. So okay.
I don't know. I viewed it a little. I lost respect for the character slightly.
Okay.
Just because I viewed it kind of as a selfish decision. Like, she's not going to kill herself for no reason. The options were, death or save the baby, if the baby's alive. It's just a question of how brutal you wanted to get. That's literally the options that were provided to Damon.
Mm-hmm.
There was no, we can save her. Right, that wasn't.
Yeah, the only option was exactly. But
so basically, on that, she's choosing to just flame herself and her unborn baby versus trying to have her baby survive as the last thing she brings to this earth. I don't know. I just view that as that's not strong choice, man.
I think the showrunners wanted to give her that choice, and you can agree or disagree with it. Yeah.
I understand what the showrunners are trying to do. I'm just saying that the thing that they had her do does not make a strong character. She ran from it's her fleeing that situation. That's not her seeking a more glorious death. That's not her seeking anything. That's her surrendering to death. That's not claiming victory out of that situation. Claiming victory would be the "you will save this baby if it's the last thing I do" kind of thing. Like that's where the glorious option would have technically been, because she would have been the one who would have been like, "No, you're going to save this baby." You could have made it where, because like, how is dying a warrior's death not getting cut open? Warriors get cut open all the time. That's usually how you die, when you get cut by a sword. So like,
it's a tough decision, man. Like,
no, but like, you could have done that in like complete. That would have actually been contrary to the other one, where like she didn't have the strength to even make the decision. Like, you could have made it where she demanded it, and Damon didn't want to like make that decision. You could have put so much strength into that character in that instance.
It's true.
And just having her
the entire family is not super well explored at this point.
No. And they're now technically extinct, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
But like, you get what I'm saying, right? Like, I viewed that as weak and cowardly, but the showrunners think it's strong and courageous. I just thought it was. I don't think they understand the choice on that one. Like, that was my only complaint when I watched the after the episode thing. I'm like, okay.
Oh, I didn't watch that.
I watched it, and they were trying to talk about it, and I'm just like, no, it's not what you think it is. It's like, she doesn't go out that way. It's like, you mean, okay, she committed suicide. Like, okay, you can claim that's the courageous thing, but she literally gave up the battle to birth her child. So, people might hate that take. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's an interesting take.
But it's like, she fled the battlefield. It's like the exact opposite of going out in flames and claiming victory while doing it. So it's like,
Yeah. All right. Well, we are now like over the hour mark. Did you want to give your final thought and ranking on this?
Yeah, sure. It's fine.
I'd give it an
haven't
8.
seen a single episode. It's good.
Yeah.
I'd give it an 8.
I'll give this one a 7.5, and I think mostly it's just because this is, again, it was a build-up episode, and I know what's coming next is probably going to be a lot better. And honestly, not thinking about the previous episode, and like, they kind of, I don't like that ending for that character as much now.
Yeah,
and then
I told you.
Her being buried at sea was also super weird in this episode. And then that entire family has not been treated well. There's a lot of wiggle room in the Fire and Blood book gave them as far as where they could go with those characters, because like, it's not really well laid out, and they all of those characters are taking the coward's way out. So like, Laenor just runs away, she ends up committing suicide, and it just sucks because like, their dad is so badass, and then the children so far just aren't great.
Right.
But they're trying to make it seem like they are.
I don't know. I kind of like it just because, isn't it the third generation that usually loses everything? And that's the third generation.
Third generation. Well, is it?
No, that's the third generation of his direct bloodline, because his father was a second son who took the house. He's now his first descendant, and now he has his kids, who would be the third generation of that direct decision making, where the strong patriarch, right?
Okay.
So they're now the third generation of that strong-willed person, who now they don't have any of that.
Yeah, fair.
I just think I thought it was an 8 just because the conflict in it was much more thrilling for as far as the intrigue of the court goes.
Yes,
and it really is a good setup. And then also they maybe I'm more generous because it's so starkly obvious that they can build characters and everything compared to Rings of Power.
Yes.
But like Rhaenyra, one episode is worth more than the entire season so far of Rings of Power in character development.
Just the older actress rather.
Yeah, she's already
giving
way
birth,
more.
Walking with that baby up the stairs, bleeding
Yeah.
the whole way to confront the queen after she I have no idea why she wants to see the kid. Like that, like just that. There's more character development in that moment.
Well, and the acting is already
Yes.
significantly better compared to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have all the money in the world, and you can't even compare it to the acting of the other show. It's like Rings of Power made the biggest mistake ever when they decided to purposely release at the same time as House of the Dragon. It's like it's too obvious that you suck.
Yeah. And on that note,
the problem. Yes. On that note, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Will.
And I'm a dude.
Yes. Thank you for coming on, man.
Yes,
I really appreciate it, and we had a good time.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And that concludes this review on the CHRILLCAST. Tune in next week. Bye, guys.
As we complain more.
Exactly.
Yes.